Hello, everyone. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Mr. Mukul Ranjan, who's the author of his latest book, Cold Cock. And we'll be talking about his book, his writing journey, and a lot more. To begin the session, I would like Mukul to introduce himself to our viewers.
Yeah, hi everybody. My name is Mukul Ranjan, and I'm working in Mumbai's Hindi film industry, TV industry, OTT platforms as a scriptwriter and director. And I have done mostly all forms of writing, be it story writing, be it scripts, be it radio scripts, be it plays. So one format was left for me, which I recognized quite late, that novel is something which I have not attempted. So quite late, I think, but I also believe in it's never too late in life. So
Right.
here is my novel, Cold Cock with You.
Great. So, would you like to tell us a bit about your journey as a writer? Since you mentioned you have done multiple forms of writing. So, how was your experience and your journey from starting as a writer to exploring different options and coming to, this particular format?
Siddharth, if I tell you, since childhood, I always wanted to be a writer. Don't get shocked. But it's a fact, since my school days, when I was in a school, I was always into, narrating new things, new incidents, normal incidents, in a story format to make it more interesting for listeners, because I didn't know they were my audience at that point of time.
Okay.
And uncannily, when I was in school, probably in class 6th or 7th, I was in school and one day, one teacher, it was our maths teacher, he came and he was holding his head or something. Probably he had a severe headache or something. So my friends knew about this hidden talent of mine that, I impromptu and narrate stories. So probably he had heard or probably wanted to try me out. He called me, Mukul Ranjan, come here. I went, stood between him and the blackboard and he said, Kahani sunao. He said, and probably I was waiting for a director's cue or, the action that directors sound, shout. And I immediately started, in Hindi. I've studied in a Hindi medium school, all boys school. So I started. घनी काली रात थी, एक काली सीट्रोन कार बड़ी तेजी से चली आ रही थी, घनघोर अंधेरा था, बिजली कड़क रही थी और कार के अंदर 4 स्याह नकाबपोश बैठे थे. And that is how the story would start, And I would narrate, twists and turns, like there was police waiting for them, so they swerved the car, took a, Kacha road or something, and the story continued. I don't know what effect, my storytelling ability or, the way I narrated the story had on my teacher.
Right.
Next day again, when he came back, I had, halfway finished my story, half of the story was left that day.
Okay.
So next day when he came back, so he called me again, Mukul Ranjan, come here. Pani puri karo. So then I remembered where I left the story and I began and I finished the story. So he probably told this to all my teachers, all the teachers in my school. And whenever, some teacher had some, physical problem or probably he was not in the mood or something, or probably he was feeling a bad day or something, he would call me, Mukul Ranjan, oh, Kahani sunao.
Kahani sunao.
And Siddharth, I must tell you, my teachers were quite pleased with me, and my friends, my batchmates, they loved me. They loved me like anything. And probably that is where, the seeds were sown, for a budding story writer, you call it, writer, you call it, whichever way you call it. And the another thing, the surprising aspect or, crazy aspect of my boyhood, schoolhood personality was, when you get playtime, when you were a kid, you used to play, with your friends or alone, different kinds of play.
Right.
But when I used to get playtime, it was playtime. I would be found in the libraries, different parts of in the city, in the town that I was living in. And I used to devour books, all kinds of books. Literature from, Korea translated into Hindi, from China translated into Hindi. Spiritual books, books about revolutionaries, what Chandrasekhar Azad felt about, Sardar Bhagat Singh, what Batukeshwar Dutt wrote about, and what Ashfaqullah Khan, what was his bravery, act of bravery, what was their philosophy, about the Anushilan Samiti, which gave birth, or rather groomed a lot of later on revolutionaries, the Master Das. I used to read a lot of literature about them. So that is how the journey started. And after my graduation, my dad suggested that I take up journalism, which for some reason I was not too keen on. I respect journalism a lot, but at that time I didn't want to take it as a profession. So he suggested you do a course in journalism, and then you think, what you could do. So I came to Bombay. The whole idea was to work in movies, to write stories, because that is one outlet besides magazines and newspapers at that time where you could tell your own stories.
Right.
Okay. And Siddhant, when I was doing my +2, there in the same town, my hometown, my stories and articles started getting published. One story got published in a Hindi newspaper, one article got published in an English magazine, and so on and so forth. And I used to write my own articles and stories, which I used to record for the local radio station. So it started when I was in doing my +2. So probably that is the way, nature was telling me.
This is what you
have talent. Yeah, you have to continue. So that is how I have landed up in front of you and to all the readers, viewers.
So coming to your current book, Cold Cock, how did the idea about the story come about?
This is an interesting question, Siddharth. Since childhood, there was an image, black and white image in a storybook which I had read. In that image, there's a young man, a loincloth, dhoti, sitting on top of a tree, on a branch, and he's cutting that same branch with the axe in his hand. Okay. So that image was always there. For some reason, I don't know what could be the story behind it or something, but the image was, I could immediately recall any point of time in my life. So when I decided that I need to work on a novel now, now that I've finished all formats of writing, be it audio, visual, or whatever mediums. So then this image started haunting me. For some reason, no connection, nothing, started haunting me. Then I got the seed. What if the, manufacturers of a product or founders of a company or creators of a creation get some devilish, state of mind of theirs to destroy that same organization, to destroy their own creation, to destroy that huge structure that they have built, with so much of love and, with so much of sacrifice. For some reason, they just wish to destroy it and they want to enjoy the whole experience. So that was the, theme of the story, And then I started, thinking about where to put this story, because you need a backdrop, a setting for it, right? So I started with STD booth. From early 90s, if you remember,
Yes.
A line of huge, long queue of people, standing, to wait, and that TikTok meter going on, money 790, 1190, So that steady booth was one setting, which with 5-6 people, manning 9-10 telephones. That was the first setting. So I thought this was a wonderful idea, and let me place my story here. For some reason, it didn't work out. I was not very happy. So then, I thought of shifting it to a nursery. You'll ask me why a nursery? Nursery has all kinds of plants, with beautiful flowers. But there are some wilting plants also. For the lack of sunlight or for the lack of, whatever. So those plants are wilting. It was always decided, while writing, or rather before beginning of the writing of this book, that I'll have in the backdrop the despondency, the dark clouds of financial depression, which we call recession, just to set the mood. Why characters are behaving in this manner, what they're worried about, what is their state of mind, and why they are acting the way they are not supposed to, or they are supposed to, So this was the backdrop. So I thought nursery was a nice place. But then again, I moved on. English, spoken English, coaching centers had started mushrooming in all parts of, cities, all towns of India. You also must have remembered, when you were a child, probably. So I thought it was a nice place, people aspiring to speak or teach English who probably themselves don't know how to do it, right? So I thought it was a great farcical setting, for this theme or rather the story that I had in mind. But then I was missing the mounting. In the movie industry, call it mounting, the grandeur, the setting, the scale of it. Then an idea came, to place this story inside a plastic bucket manufacturing company. The factory in Vasai, close by near Mumbai, outside of suburb of Mumbai. So that was a nice setting. But then again, something was lacking. I was missing something. The buzz was not there. The lingo was not there. The characters were not there. The very staid, everyday 9 to 6 kind of character. Something was missing. I was despondent. I stopped writing, notes for my chapters, for my novel. I stopped everything. I said, Mukul is not working. Leave it. And then suddenly the idea came to me. You've been working in this industry. I've been working here since early 90s, Siddharth. So I thought, why not set this story, inside this industry? And then I remember my friends also who work in the same industry, as DOP, as production designers, as the costume designer, directors, script writers, And they used to create, हमारी कहानी कोई नहीं लिखता है, किरदारों के बारे में सब लिखते हैं, Like the characters that we create, they are written about, the shows, the titles, our shows, stories of the shows, episodic story, everything is written about it, except us, who are giving our heart and soul, to make it live, to make it happen. So two things, while they were intermingling with my thought process, left and right. Nobody writes our stories. Let me put this story inside the TV industry. So that is how I got the setting. I got the characters, colorful characters, so as to speak of. Okay. And I got the lingo, the way these characters speak. Because TV is the place, besides, I believe, the call centers, where you get to hear the latest slangs, the latest in-word, So that is how the whole thing, materialized, crystallized.
That is actually interesting, seeing how the story passed through 4 different settings. And yet the central idea remained the same, but it finally came to the industry that you are working on. And in fact, that was the next question I was going to put to you. That it is said that the first story that a person writes is usually drawn from your own experiences. So if I may ask, how many of these characters that we see in the book are actually, people or are these completely fictional?
See, I'm digressing a bit, Siddhant, but give me some moment, to elucidate on my point. Writing is not simply about writing. Writing is primarily about observation. Okay, what you have observed, observed in the sense it could be an incident, or it could be, you could follow a conversation, or you could follow a fight, so as to speak of, that's being exchanged. And also it's about recall. How much of that observation or memory can you recall when you want to recall it, okay? And then you put everything down on the paper, okay? So I told you, I've been working since early 90s, and things have changed, industry has moved, technology has, grown leaps and bounds. You being from a technology background, you will understand it better, So the idea was, I had a theme, I had a story, I had characters, So what I did was, what I wanted to incorporate in the story, in the novel, I incorporated it. But characters might or might not be real.
Okay.
Even if they are not real, most of them are imaginary. I have written their dialogues or their body language or the world they live in, the language that they speak, so as to make them look real. The whole idea was, Siddhant, I'll tell you very frankly, I love all kinds of books, I read a lot. I love all kinds of books. But things which appear to be realistic or things which are done in a realistic manner, they appeal to you first,
Right.
even if you're watching a fantasy, but if you are enjoying it, that means, the creators of that world, or that movie or that web series or that book, the novelist has done a fine job of it. It appeared real to you when you were watching it. That's why you enjoyed it, right?
Right, right.
So the whole effort was to make it realistic. So even when things are far-fetched, I'm talking about some instances from the
Right, right.
book, from the
Yeah.
novel. Yeah?
Yes.
When you are reading them, you will actually enjoy, what is going around you.
Right.
So the whole idea was to make it, appear or write or, make it all feel, that's all being done realistically. Okay. And second thing was characters might or not be, real, but I have interacted with a lot of, friends of mine, I told you I'm a good observer.
Right.
Been working here since last 20, 25 years, So I remember a lot of incidents, small incidents, ego things being blown out of proportion. Okay.
Okay.
So some of those conversations and some of those situations, the incidents have come in the book, but mostly it's fiction. But the trick was here to make it appear
Appear
realistic.
real.
Yeah, so that when you are reading it, you will think, oh God, this guy looks so real. Probably I've seen him somewhere. Probably I've interacted with this kind of a boss, So that
Right,
was the
right.
whole idea.
Okay. That was actually interesting. Moving on. How was the experience of publishing the book for you?
Siddhant, I'll be honest with you. Probably a day will come, sooner than later, that I'll write a book about how not to get published.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll keep this answer and thoughts and the philosophy behind why I'm saying it for that book. I'll write
Okay.
it for sure. It'll be a satirical book.
Okay. I will actually look forward to reading it because this is a question that I have, asked to multiple people I've interacted with. And this has been, one of the best, things that I've heard from people because everyone has a completely different experience.
Yes.
Despite they were, publishing with same publishers, everyone has a different story. So, that would actually be interesting, reading a satirical take on how your experience was there as a for publishing this book.
You think it's a nice idea, right?
Yes, it's definitely a nice idea. And I
See,
think
I've got a ready reader here.
yes. And moving on, what was the most difficult part of the entire process from ideation to writing to publishing to marketing? What was the most difficult part?
Writing part was a breeze for me, Siddhant.
Okay.
That was the easiest part because
Okay.
I've been interacting with my characters. I've been creating them, destroying them, killing them, mutilating them all my life. So that was the easiest part. What happened was after I finished, the preliminary draft of my manuscript, it had, like 100,000 words plus,
Okay.
probably 20 or 30,000 more. So when I looked at it, after a couple of weeks, I said, this is going on and on. This is going on and on. There's huge amount of description, a lot of explanations, a lot of technical things, related to movies, cameras, editing,
Right.
sound effects, which probably was not contributing to the whole story, or probably it was dragging down the drama, which I didn't want.
Okay.
See, now I'll tell you, for me, I have a movie background, I have a television background. For me, writing a novel, writing a novel has been almost an experience like making a full-length feature movie.
Right.
The same process, how it starts, the deliberations, the mulling, to do or not to do, to incorporate this or to leave it, the whole process is same. What happened is when I finished, I was done with everything. I had ready, I was ready. But that was not, in the publishable format. I thought, a lot of extra information I provided here, which is not bored, readers.
Right, right.
So I started chopping it. Since I've been working as a director, we have been trained, and it comes with the experience that you keep only the interesting part of it, or whatever is connecting, to two scenes, or
Right.
probably to two episodes, or probably to two major incidents happening, and you knock off, boring parts of it, verbose,
Right.
technical, non-happening parts of it. So that is how I also started, So on this movie, sorry, I'm saying movie. On this book, manuscript, I was working as a director without knowing. Okay.
Okay.
I was a writer. I was a writer. Call me writer, call me novelist, whatever. But when the finished part came, the first draft, I started working as a director, knocking off, chopping off, trimming off. I trimmed off, a couple of chapters also, because I thought they were not, adding to the whole
Right.
story. Right.
Right.
So that process was very, interesting, and you might call it challenging also, because first time authors,
Right.
they are so greedy and so rigid about each and every word that they put in the manuscript. And here my skills, my experience came in. I need to be responsible to the publisher and to my readers, ultimately to my readers who's reading this book.
Right.
So I knocked off, and probably 100,000, 100, rather 22, 23,000 words. Now stands at least 51,000 or something. So
Okay.
that was the most challenging part. What to knock off, what to retain.
What to retain.
Yeah.
So, the title.
Shakespearean mode of mind,
Yeah.
to be or to
not to be. Another thing, that I noticed about the book is the title, and it is quite unusual. So, would you like to tell us how the title of the book came about?
So now, everybody asks me this question, because when I myself look at the book, the book is something else, and sometimes it appears is titled something else from the book. No, it is connected. So what happened was, when I see everybody, who writes a story or a novel or something, everybody has a different process. Mine is, when I sit down to write, most of my primary characters, or other the main characters, protagonists, their names are already there, pre-decided before I start working. Okay. And the title also is already decided. So there was a title before I have written a single word of the manuscript, Siddhant. The title was there. By the time I was, close to finishing, I had to write the epilogue part of it before it, the whole thing was done. So I thought, I should get another title. This title is fine, it looks good, but I need to have another title. So I started looking for another title, and I was working on the epilogue part of the book. Another title came, which is more like what I wanted it. It was almost perfect. And then I was done with the book. I started with the trimming and editing part of myself. So the second title was there, but it was not exciting me the way it should have.
Okay.
Though it was perfectly apt title, what was going inside the book, the title, they were perfectly matched. Something was missing. Siddhant, something. For me, working in movies, before that, watching movies, as a teen, as a youngster, I believe titles have a lot of importance.
Right.
When you were a kid, you remember your favorite movies, you'll immediately recall them by the titles.
Yes.
Sound of Music, The Godfather,
Right.
Alice in Wonderland, and like Hindi movies also, South movies also. Primarily, titles are always there at the back of your mind. So I told you, when I started working on this manuscript, the director self inside me was also alive. So I wanted a surefire title. This title is fine. It's perfect, aptly matched.
Right.
Kick was not there. Something was missing. Something was missing. So after a couple of months, I did the edit part also. Knocked off half of it, more than half of it. Yet the title was not there. And I didn't want to go with the second title. So then I looked for some more, searched some more, thought of some more. Nothing was happening. And with my day-to-day, shoot and other stuff happening, script writing, work happening, I forgot about the manuscript and the title. Both went sometime, got locked some. And several months passed. I had forgotten completely about the ready manuscript, Siddhant. Okay, ready manuscript without a title. Okay. One day, quite late in the night, around 3 o'clock or something, I reached home after a hectic shoot, which was going on for a fortnight or so, and I was like dog tired. So I took off my shoes. My food was served, the dinner at 3:30 a.m. I was having my dinner. That is our life here in Bombay and I switched on TV just to have some sound, because everybody was sleeping inside the house. That is like ungodly hour. I was flipping the channels, and I usually watch sports, and movies on the TV. Sometimes news, probably some election is around the corner or some great incident has happened, like this Capitol Hill incident happened. Then I watch TV for the news. Otherwise, I mostly relate myself or watch on TV's sports and movies. So I was flipping the channels. On one sports channel, some tournament was happening somewhere, some tournament, and this boxing bout was on. And the final round was about to begin. Both of them were getting ready, lying down like this. Somebody doing this, somebody doing this, somebody doing this, pressing and telling, instructing. Everything was going on. So I thought, okay, man, there's a boxing match. Let me watch it. And I was eating also. So they stood, both of them. Huge guys, well-built guys. Fair, hungry for a win because it was the final round last week. I started. Our punches were being exchanged, like we exchanged pleasantries, they were exchanging punches like that. It was going on. And I suddenly, stopped eating. The spoon was there inside the plate, and I was like, what is happening? What is to happen? Who's to win? I couldn't make up my mind, because immediately if I started betting on this guy winning, he started getting punched. So then again, I thought, no, I shouldn't change my loyalty. No, this guy is going to win. And again, punches, this guy started winning. So it was like evenly matched, event going on. Suddenly, a fraction of a second, that is how boxing matches happen. The first guy, punched the second guy on top of his right ear, like this. And the blow was so, hard. The second guy fell down, the boxer fell down. And, this guy, a referee, got down. The count started 1 to 10, and the commentator got all excited, because finally he was looking at a result. So he started, out of all excitement, oh man, what a god here! Gregory has cocked him. So I heard this word. Gregory has cocked him. Gregory was a winner. He got the gold medal. And I liked the title so much, So I thought this is a nice title. So Cold Cocked is already a book about hockey. Okay. So I thought, no, I should bifurcate this word, single word. Cold Cocked is used in sports terminology. So I, spliced it into two parts, cold and cock. Okay. So that is how this title came about. And also, Siddhant, if minutely you observe, boxing is about rise and fall.
Right.
One guy rises, one guy has fallen down. Okay. And this book, according to me, that is what I believe in. It's not necessary that everybody should agree with my viewpoint, but this book is also about rise and fall.
Right. Especially if we see, the prologue and then the events that happen throughout the book, it is about rise and fall of that particular channel and the people as well, especially the protagonist. So, as you mentioned in your introduction, you wear many hats. So how did you find time to write a full-length novel?
It was tough. Because Siddhant, I'll tell you something, different from this question that you asked me. When you begin a new journey, I'm telling you to all my readers, viewers here, when you begin a new journey, there are a lot of questions going inside your head. To do this, or to leave this, to add this, or to chuck it out, to retain this. Should I take this format? Should I take this narrative? Should I make, this protagonist? Should I change their, genders? a lot of things go on. But I have always believed, since childhood, the kind of training I had as a reader. As a reader, I'm talking about. I've grown up on revolutionary literature. I told you about Sardar Bhagat Singh, Chandrasekhar Azad, Batukeshwar Dutt, Kakori case. I have trained myself to be a fearless fellow. Okay. So when I took up this challenge to write a novel, no short story, no story collection, nothing, straight away to a novel, I thought I have to do it.
Okay.
How I didn't know,
Okay.
How I didn't know. I have to do it. That was the first thing that was pre-decided. Okay.
Okay.
And my wife was shocked because she has lived with for some time, and she knew, how easygoing this fellow was. Okay. So I told her, I'll finish this novel. She said, okay, I'm watching you.
Okay.
Like, in US shows, I'm watching you. I took it up as a challenge, But then I had great paucity of time. The shootings, when you are shooting, you are wearing, like you yourself told me, a couple of minutes back, while shooting, you need to wear multiple hats. Even on the set, if you are a director, you are not simply about, being a director.
Right.
You need to look into costumes also. You need to look into, the backdrop also, the color scheme also. Right. Something is probably not matching, So then you get inside that costume designers, or something in the backdrop of the set, behind the characters is looking odd. So then you need to, kick off your production designers this thing. So I had paucity of time. I had actually no time. But since childhood, I have been an early riser. I wake up around 4:35 in the morning when it's still dark outside. I do pranayam, then I do brisk walking for some time, then take a shower, and then I sat down to write.
Okay.
The pointers to the novel were already written by me, for several months. It took me months to write the pointers to the novel. What is happening?
Right.
And then I started writing. And when you are in the flow, you don't realize that it's time to leave.
Right.
Since I was already taken shower, it was dark outside. I just had to change and leave. Whole day I was working outside, shooting outside, inside the post studio and inside the edit studio with my editor, with my effects guy, VFX guys, Night when I used to come back, another habit is when I'm commuting to work, I don't drive.
Okay.
So when I'm commuting, I always keep on reading something. I read a lot, while commuting, going also, while coming back to home also, And night it's always a habit, since I don't know how many years. After dinner, I need to read something. So morning was the time when I had the time to write. So if I was, shooting in a far off place, where I need to travel, early, I used to write for 1.5, 2 hours.
Okay.
And if I was shooting in the vicinity of the place where I live in, I live in Oshiwara, which is adjacent to Lokhandwala.
Right.
So then I could write, 2.5 hours. Immediately change and rush. Sometimes walk also inside the studio.
Okay.
The studios are close to my place. So that is how it happened. And when I had an off day, sort of holiday, whole day I used to write. My wife thought I was possessed.
Okay.
But I told you, I challenged myself, I'll finish it, and I finished it. So that is how it happened, early morning writings mostly. So, and it took me, Siddhant, 1 full year, and 3 months more.
Including the editing part? Yeah, just the writing.
No, excluding only the writing part.
Only the writing part.
Yeah.
Okay. The book has been out for quite some time now. So how has the reception to the book been?
I'll say God Almighty has been kind, to me, and the book has been well received by critics also, by reviewers also, you included, And since it was my first book, a lot of critics, a lot of reviewers have pointed out, something missing here, some links missing there, these things could have been done with the protagonist. These layers could have been added. That is their job, and I respect critics' job a lot. Siddhant, I respect your job a lot because you are probably pointing out something clinically which probably I would not dare to look at. Because I have invested so much and I am so deep inside it.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So book has been received well, and on the people who have read the book, they have expressed their sentiments and emotions and their observations about the book, and it has been mostly positive. It has garnered around 4.5, 4.6, out of 5. I'm talking about star rating, if you believe it.
Right.
If you believe in them, And another part is which greatly excited me, Siddhant, is that some of the reviewers, some of the critics, they felt very strongly that this thing was not working in the book. Okay. And say that they wrote about it openly. Okay. So I welcome them all, I embrace all their thoughts, the points that they have, mentioned with open heart, because I have been in this business where, we and critics, we coexist.
Right, right.
Some star might tell you, I'm talking movie star, I don't care about critics, I'm beyond critics, But end of the day, he's also asking his, driver, he's also asking his wife, he's also asking, his brother-in-law.
Right.
Critics ne kya likha? Kitni rating di?
Right, right.
So book has been, like received well by the critics, and the things which are not there, since it was my first time, it was my first book. Later on, I'll also polish, and whatever critics have mentioned out, I've also started soaking in. Probably, I could have worked harder there. Probably it missed my sharp eye. So next book hopefully will be a better book.
So before we close, I am sure our viewers would like you to read a small passage from the book for us. So would you like to do that?
Yeah, sure. Siddhant, this is a passage, in the first chapter, the beginning of the book. Okay. And this is the, one of the protagonists, Ashwin Sharma, talking to his motorbike, speaking to his motorbike, venting out. And you'll be surprised to know that when I read this passage, you hear me clearly, okay? So that will show his state of mind right now at the beginning of the book. Trust me, the same state of mind of Ashwin Sharma is there in the middle of the book also. And the same state of mind for Ashwin Sharma is at the end of the book also. Okay?
Okay.
So here it is. Did you hear me, my Java boy? I need a job desperately now, or else it will be curtains to my career in Mumbai. This industry really sucks. You actually need a sugar daddy to survive you. The harsh truth is that talent is not required so much as contacts you. It's now or never. Should I take a break, go back to Bhopal for a couple of months, and then come here? Or should I stick around and find a job first? What do you say? The realization dawned on me like molten lava. I was blowing up money as if there was no tomorrow, drinking like a fish. I was gorging on chicken lollipop every day as if I was addicted to it. And finally, how could I forget that I was riding my Java as if it was running on water? I had to do something fast. But what? Sweat broke on my forehead. God, please help me out.
Thank you. That was actually interesting. And I have a small anecdote, The day I started reading the book, in the morning, me and one of my colleagues, we had actually gone to the Java showroom to see a bike. Because he's meaning to buy one, and we just went there. So it was actually easy to visualize also, to see that bike with him and, talking to him. That was actually very interesting, especially the first chapter.
Siddhant, bikes, boots, bikes, jackets, they are more, symbolic of a young guy, a young guy with a lot of energy, with a lot of pulsating heartbeat, he wants to do this, he wants to go there, he wants to go there, And I have also, rode a lot of motorcycles, Bullet also, Java also, Rajdoot also. But Java has a special place of heart, a special place, in my heart, because, right now SUVs are the current craze. Siddhant, if you have noticed or if you drive one, when you go in a SUV, people out there, on the road give a lot of respect to you. People going in, sedans and hatchbacks, they give respect to you because you are driving or probably sitting, inside a SUV. Okay. The same respect was accorded to Java in its heydays, which I have seen. The sound, sitting like this, and every bicycle or bike people, riding bikes, they used to, go left and right, let this guy go, So Java had started, when I started writing, I could have added any fancy bike also, we have these BMWs and Harleys, But since childhood, I have ridden it. I have not, rode a Harley. So I thought of having Java here, And it was the setting of the character, a state of mind, the kind of guy he is, So it fitted in well.
So that brings us to an end to the interview. And it was a pleasure hosting you and talking to you about your book. And hearing different anecdotes, how the story came about and your writing experience, and how we actually came to see the book in the current form that it is, and the title and the story and the characters. So thank you for taking out time and talking to us, and I wish you all the best for the book. And I really hope we see your second book come out very fast. And based on the discussion that we had, I think I'll probably look out for it now, since we're talking about publishing. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Siddharth. And Cold Talk is saying, thank you to you. We are, both of us are in gratitude to you, for affording us this respect, honor, to be on your show. And to all my reader friends, viewer friends out there, this is the book. And this is the writer, who's speaking right now to you. Go get it, guys.
So guys, go get a copy of the book. It's available on Amazon. I'll be adding a link in the description as well. So you can go get a copy of the book, read it, post your reviews, and contact Mukul. I will put his social media handles as well. You can reach out to him. You can talk to him about the book. And I am sure you'll all enjoy the journey that the book puts you through it.
Thank you.
So thank you. Thank you, Mukul.